everybody. Thanks for tuning into Lounging Guitars. On this episode of Guitar Tech Tips, I am working on a Fender Inoran Jazzmaster. I recently saw a 58/59 Jazzmaster go up for sale at Thunder Roads Guitars up in Seattle, and I love the look of it, so I'll be doing a conversion from this Inoran Jazzmaster to a 58/59 Jazzmaster. This will include a full setup, changing out the pickup covers, knobs, and tips, and doing some fretwork. When working on the guitar, I like to separate it out into three sections: the neck, the body, and the intonation. So right here, I'm just taking the neck off the body to work on it. Here I'm using low-tack painter's tape to protect the fretboard as I work on the fret sprout and fret polishing. This is a super tedious process that I don't like doing, so let's just fast forward through this whole thing. Here I'm taking a fret end file and just taking off a little material off the edges of the frets on the fret ends. If you live in Phoenix, Arizona, you usually have to do this once on a guitar's lifetime because the dryness here, it shrinks the neck, it literally shrinks it down so the fret ends start sticking out. After using the fret end file, I always like to go over it again with high grit sandpaper. I start with 800, 850, 1000, 1500, 1800, and go all the way up to 2000 to really polish the fret ends and to get rid of the tooling marks that the file leaves behind. Here I'm just taking off some harsh edges off the bone nut that's on this Jazzmaster and polishing it up so it's nice and shiny, and when my hand goes across it, it does not feel sharp at all. My favorite fretboard conditioning oil to use is the Music Nomad F1 fretboard oil. It works great. I'm putting a set of 11 to 48 Ernie Ball paradigm strings on this later, so I'm tightening the truss rod just a little bit so there's not too much forward bow. In section 2, I'll be working on everything that involves the body of the guitar. So I'm taking off the pickguard to swap out the pickups and also see what's going on underneath the hood. I'm also taking off the trem unit or the vibrato unit because I'm swapping it out for a Fender Panorama trem unit. The Inoran Jazzmaster comes with AV65 pickups, full CTS pots, and switchcraft switches, and the cavity is sprayed or painted with shielding paint. I'm removing the AV65 pickups to swap them out for a set of retro sound prototype pickups that my friend Shad wound for me and was kind enough to send me a set. All the clips that you're hearing when I'm playing the guitar is through these retro sound pickups, and they're way closer to the 1959 spec Jazzmaster than the AV65s are, so this set is awesome. Before I took everything apart, I checked the pots and they were super scratchy, so I'm just giving it a good spray with deoxit to clean out the pots. So putting a pickguard back on a Jazzmaster is a nightmare, and I hate it. I guess I could have done a better job of organizing the wires underneath, but it would still make it hard. So you have to finagle a lot in this process. I'm removing the black knobs and the switch tip to replace with white ones. I'm just checking here to see if a USA pickguard will fit on a Inoran Jazzmaster, and it does not. Before screwing down the pickguard, I always want to check if the pickups actually work. So just going through the pickup selector and touching the tip and the sleeve with my multimeter and getting a reading. Everything looks good. If you work on a lot of Jazzmasters, do yourself a favor and order a pack of weather stripping foam off of Amazon. That is your pickup height adjustment foam. It's just weather stripping. I'm replacing the black pickup covers for a set of Fender aged white pickup covers. They look great with the anodized gold guard. For this build, I'm using a panorama trem unit or vibrato unit, and these work great if you replace that spring. Here's an example of an aged knob and a non-aged knob. The aged one, I just put it in a cup of very hot boiling coffee for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then I put it in the freezer right afterwards to set the color in. Make sure that you don't do this on pickup covers because it'll warp the pickup cover, but it works great on knobs. Alright, it's time to put the neck back on. Make sure to not over tighten the neck bolts because it will strip it out. As always, I'm using a set of Ernie Ball Paradigm strings. They have reinforced ball ends, so when you're using the trem unit, the ball ends do not unwind. Here I'm using Burt's Bees lip balm to lube the nut. I like to set the string height of the high E at the 12th fret at around 1.5 millimeters and at the low E 1.75 millimeters. To set the intonation, you play the harmonic at the 12th fret of the string and then the fretted note at the 12th fret of the string. And then if the fretted note is flat, you bring the saddle forward. If it's sharp, you bring the saddle back. That's it. I think I got pretty close to that 59 Jazzmaster at Thunder Road's Guitars. I ended up going with a stay trem instead of the Mastery or the RSD. The stay trem in this context worked way better than the Mastery, which surprised me because I love Mastery products. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and thanks for watching.